recording on Friday, June 7th. Cassidy is fresh off a finals appearance.
I don't know about fresh, but I'm off of it.
She's off the finals appearance. She said, before we get started on this podcast, she said she's so tired her skin hurts. I have never heard that term used before. Never, besides sunburn and just being in the sun.
Wow.
Maybe our listeners will comment.
Maybe it's because I'm old now. I don't know. That's what it is.
No, but LeBron is old.
I am older than LeBron.
He's old for basketball years. But he's still playing well, and we'll get into Bronny in a little bit.
Oh,
but
God.
Before we get into that, let's talk about the finals game. It was quite the sight to see.
Was it?
I was most impressed with Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown. I thought they both played really well. I think JB he's always had alpha mentality, and now I think his game is translating into alpha Jaylen Brown in terms of aggressiveness, vocal leadership, defensively picking Luka up full court, picking his pocket, dunking it. And his comments after the game, basically saying, like, let's not get cute, fellas, it's just one game. Like, he's the vocal leader, you can tell. He's steady, he's serious, and his game has continued to get better, and he's playing at a really, really high level. And with him playing like that, they don't even need Tatum to play well to win, which is a sign of how great their team is.
Exactly. Now, I know this whole, the Kobe comparisons are, at this point, kind of played out. I mean, this is a generation that's heavily impacted and influenced by Kobe. But I'm going to do it anyways. If we're going to point out someone who is taking on a very Kobe-esque mentality, this Jaylen Brown has been very straight-faced. And even what you said, his comment let's not get cute. We won one game. And, he is playing both sides of the ball out of his mind. He was so active all over the court. And, he had several highlight plays last night. He's coming off of winning the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And, he's in the proper mindset. And, I think also he's very close with Kristaps Porzingis. They've built a really nice bond this year. And, as you pointed out, we were on the court doing hoop streams when Porzingis did his long kind of wrestler-style entrance into TD Garden. That's how it felt. Like he did a slow walk, because that long hallway in TD Garden, and how they take the shot up on the big screen, and they were loud actually in the pregame warm-ups, and you could see his face and how well it was received. But when he ran out onto the court late, by the way, which was added to the drama, he was the last person out. It was very entertaining. The entertainment level was very high in terms of, Kristaps' return. And then when he got onto the court, he said, he had goosebumps. You could feel it. And we kind of turned around when he came on, and his smile, it was almost like a smirk, if you will, just feeling that energy of returning for the NBA Finals, his first NBA Finals, but he had missed, 38 days? And he didn't look like he missed a beat. And, that was the same kind of reception he got when he came into the game as well. And then, he went off in that first half. It was a pretty incredible return for KP. Unicorn-esque. Remember when people used to call him that?
Yeah, now they can call him whatever they want, but they're going to call him a champion in the next week. I'm just keeping it real. They're not losing the series. But if you look at how well he played, it was like he was shooting over chairs, right? He's 7'3". He's turning and facing. They're running pick and rolls to get the switches where there's a guard on them. And even if it's a tall guard, they're just not as tall as him. He was active. He rebounded the ball. He blocked shots. He sprinted well. He sat in a drop and did a great job of guarding pick and rolls with Luka and Kyrie. He brought energy. We talked about his first half. I think his impact, his ability to stretch the floor, right? You got a unique big who can protect the rim, right? Elite shot blocker. move his feet well enough to kind of guard pick and rolls. Then he can stretch the defense out to where he can shoot from 30 feet. He's got range. It's a quick release. It's a confident release. The swag is always there. The comb over, the three-piece suit. Like, you can just see the swag and the confidence in the smirk as if he just knew, like, I'm about to really give these boys the works. I had 30 days off to really work on my craft, to get conditioned again. We call it the conditioning league, when you're injured and you're working your way back from an injury, or if you're not in the rotation. He was probably a conditioning league all-star with the Celtics, just taking advantage of all their staff, just probably busting all of them. And he looked like he was ready. 20 minutes, it was light, 8 of 13, 20 points, 18 in the first half. Didn't need to really do much in the second half because the game was essentially out of reach for all of the game except for maybe a 4-minute span of the third quarter. Mm-hmm. Drew Holiday was a plus 20. Al Horford started the game strong. They basically just got a cast of a bunch of really good players who do their job, and then you sprinkle in Sam Hauser, you sprinkle in Pritchard for 12 to 15 minutes, and everybody else is playing heavy minutes. But I think the storyline is this, in my eyes. Boston is the better team. If they lose, it's a surprise, right? They're supposed to win. Dallas is really good. They've been playing really well. Their stars have to play outside of their minds for them to have a chance to win this series, or their role players have to just play really, really well. Kyrie shot the ball, 6 of 19 in game one. Didn't shoot the ball extremely well. Luka, he had 30 on 26 shots, but we talked about it.
1 assist.
Only 1 assist, probably a season low. They're not going to win like that.
They're not going to win like they won against the Timberwolves. They're not going to be having a lob city. And, what do they do? And I think it's interesting because we talked a lot. Always injuries are a big part of playoff discussions. But what does it say about the Celtics when you see a guy like Kristaps on the court last night and the Celtics didn't have him at all during their run, even though you can argue they played all injured people too. But, he's been argued to be the X factor for this team. Like, we know the Jays are the leaders of the team, but Kristaps was brought on, and they moved huge key pieces to that foundation of that Boston, tradition that they've had for so long. And Kristaps was always supposed to be the guy that put him over the edge. Do you feel like his presence is going to be one of the biggest reasons why they win this series?
I just feel like Boston is better, and with him, they're better, like, to another level in terms of, they call it a 55-win team without him. With him, add 5 to the 10 wins. And they were able to win 64 wins with him being hurt, with other guys being injured throughout the season. But I think his versatility in shot making is important. It's a guy you could just throw the ball to at the elbow and he can ISO. He's got enough lateral ability. He's got enough creativity off the bounce to be able to fake handoffs. He had a drive. He had a play where he caught the ball top of the key. He went weak side as if he's going to go DHL to the weak side, turned the corner, 2-hand slam, hanging on the rim, yelling, smirking. This series is going to be interesting because Kyrie and Luka are that good. They were down 20 or 25 in game one against OKC. They were down 20 or 25 in game one against the Timberwolves as well. The Clippers as well. So they're used to being able to come back from behind. But I think in this case, Luka and Kyrie are good enough to get you 1 or 2 wins. But I just feel like Boston's team is better. I feel like the role players that they have contribute to winning. I feel like their defense and ability to switch, they can play with matchups. Tatum can go guard the big, so they can just switch those pick and rolls and take away the lob threats. They have a lot of options with that team, and I think it's just their time in terms of them having been to the finals before. The Jays haven't played together 7 years. I think it's just their time.
So what can the Mavs do, though? Because, do you think that this is, like, are we doing a overreaction or a big reaction to game one? Do you think this is going to be quick work? Or, I see the Mavs fighting back. I don't see P.J. Washington being as insignificant. I don't see I don't know what we're going to get out of Gafford and Lively in this series. What do you think? Like, that's why I say that Porzingis' presence is going to be huge. Also, what did you think of how the Mavs were kind of going at him. They were going at him straight on. You know, they were feeding into their blocks almost. Like, what should the game plan be for the Mavs other than, hey, we need Kyrie and Luka to be superhuman?
Yeah, I mean, I like Dallas' aggressiveness, right? Like, they tried to dunk on Kristaps multiple times. They're getting downhill. They're being aggressive and playing the way that they play. I look for them to be much more competitive throughout the rest of the series. They're well coached. They got good players. I think they were on pace for 65 wins if you look at how they played post All-Star break. Really good offense, really good defense, switchability. I look for Tim Hardaway Jr. to probably get some playing time with the shooting and what he kind of brings to the court, especially with how they're guarding Kyrie and Luka and some of those guys once they break the three-point line. I think they're going to probably sprinkle in zone. They're going to sprinkle in some different coverages defensively. They're going to run some switching lineups. They're going to do some different things. J. Kidd's going to change it up. And they are good enough to get wins. I just feel like the way Boston plays, right? Tatum took about 16 shots. I think he had the most shots on the team. The way they play, it's share the sugar, get up lots of three-pointers, find matchups, play after play after play. They put Luka Doncic into the action. So I'm sure there's going to be a change in coverages where Luka may show, he may trap, they may mix it up a little bit, but they're just trying to tire him out, put him in the actions, and make things happen. And in Game 1, they got whatever they wanted with him in the actions for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, do you see a similar kind of game plan like the Thunder had almost, but with different personnel, obviously, throwing Drew and Jalen at Luka. I just wonder, too, Dallas playoff low 89 points. They're just not. I don't see that offense being that quiet. Again, a lot of these guys haven't been on this stage before. This is the NBA Finals at TD Garden. In terms of hostile environments, where would you put TD Garden? And then you times that by 1,000,000 for it being the NBA Finals.
No,
I think the Mavs are feeling it because they look tired. They look tired or they look shook.
I think it's just Game 1. It's the finals. There's probably some jitters to start the game. And then you get down by, 30 early in the game. The crowd is cheering. They're hitting threes. They're blowing kisses after they're making threes. It's a lot to deal with, especially in your first finals appearance, especially on the road in a hostile environment against a team you are an underdog against, right? Like, no, only Dallas fans and people that like picking underdogs are picking the Dallas Mavericks right now. Right, because Boston is the favorite. They've been the favorite since early on in the season. They won 64, 65 games for a reason, and they're good. But I think Dallas is going to come out much more poised, similar to how they did in the second half. Like J. Kidd talked to him about kind of settling in, trusting each other, share the ball, play aggressively, make quick decisions, defend at a high level, rebound, and go, and stop thinking so much. And I think you've seen that in the third quarter. They just couldn't get over the hump. Luka hit a big three. I think he cut it to 9. And they couldn't get over the hump. Celtics answered every single time. But I think Boston wins Game 2, and I think Game 3 the adjustments kick in. I think Dallas gets Game 3. But I just feel like Boston's going to win in 6 some way, form, or fashion. And Kyrie and Luka are going to go bonkers in 1 or 2 games, and they're going to get 1 or 2 wins. And then I think it's just going to come down to Boston just having the right types of role players in the right types of positions who do what's necessary for them to win.
I think their defense also is going to play a big part in their success this series because it was suffocating. I mean, they forced the Mavs into their lowest true shooting percentage of any game this postseason and 6th lowest of the entire season. They Dallas just didn't look connected. They had a season low 9 assists. Well below their playoff average of 22 and a half. Luka only had 1, Kyrie only had 2. And in terms of assists. So it's just, I think the Celtics have prided themselves on their defense, and I think that's going to ultimately be, what puts them over the edge, even if we see Kyrie and Luka go off. So, all right, you see game 2 going in the favor of the Celtics, but when it gets to Dallas, the Mavs are going to find a way to respond. Did you, in terms of Kyrie's game, this has been a big topic in all the reaction shows today, so I'm going to ask it to you. How much blame are you putting on Kyrie in terms of how you watched him, him being the leader, him being the champion, how he engaged with the team? There's something to him saying that he's the leader of this team. Was there and him having been there? Do you put any blame?
I can't believe you're asking me this. You know what I'm going to say. Kyrie is the only one on that team outside of J. Kidd who's been to the finals. He's the only one who's won the finals. He's been 3 times. This is his 4th time. He's like the 4th or 5th highest points per game in finals history.
Okay,
he's hit big shot
point.
after big shot, and
that game.
He goes 6 for 19 in one game, 0 for 5 from 3, which I can guarantee you doesn't happen again.
I'm saying this game. I'm not saying in general. I'm saying this game.
If he would have scored 8 more points, they still would have lost. If he would have scored 10 more points, I think they still lose this game. I think it's a matter of him definitely playing better, him being assertive, aggressive, efficient, all those things. He was a minus 19. They end up losing by 18 points. Game was over. Luka subbed out with 5 or 6 minutes left. The game was essentially over with 7, 8 minutes left in the game. He'll be better. He'll be more efficient. He'll be more effective. He carried the ball with him onto the plane, into the arena, into the press conference. He may sleep with that ball.
What did you think of that?
I think it's like Hooper mentality. When I was younger, I used to sleep with the ball. I used to carry it everywhere I went, and I think it's just a Hooper mentality, a guy who's excited to be in the finals, a guy who's excited to play the game, and he seems really at peace. He's in a really good space, and it's only a matter of time before he goes and gets 30 or 40. It's gonna happen.
What do you think was in his mind, saying that he thought TD Garden would have been louder?
I think that.
I mean, you lost, okay, and you have another game at TD Garden.
Let me talk about my boy Kyrie. I think. I heard that.
I've been doing a whole bunch of segments, and I've from the get-go, if you go back to our day 1 podcast, been talking about Kyrie's maturity and his evolution this season and yada, yada, yada. I'm just talking about this specific game. We're reacting to game 1, okay?
And it's always an overreaction.
They got beat down.
They lost
one game.
So
then why would you give the Boston fans who are already hostile that type of bulletin board material, saying that they weren't as loud as he thought they were going to be? If you won, maybe. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think that he said that because, first of all, it's Kyrie. Second of all, in his heart of hearts, I think that he expected them to really, really boo him more loudly, and be more maybe derogatory against him, similar to what they were in his first return.
They didn't boo loud when he first came out. I gotta tell you this: the crowd was a little timid, being like, "Oh, what are they gonna do?" You could feel it, what are they gonna do? I'm not gonna boo him. But as soon as they got that first lead, Kyrie sucks, and then it got louder and louder and louder. So they got, they got more brazen. So so I guess maybe that's what he was trying to say. He was
basically the
expecting
energy
from the jump.
The energy shifted once they was up 30. Of course, the game was over. But what he's basically saying is he expected them to be louder, and you better believe that his game will be louder in game 2.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. But you still have the Celtics winning.
I got the Celtics winning. I just think that they're a better team. It's not like a crazy take. I just feel like they've played well all season. With and without Porzingis, and with him, they're a better team.
Okay, well.
You know what we're going to talk about next? The draft is coming up, Cassidy. So let's just talk about this real quick, and then we'll move on to the Lakers, which this also kind of involves, if we're being honest here, with the coaching situation. I will be in the city for the draft. I think you'll be in the city for the draft. And what we're trying to figure out is, will Bronny come to the draft?
Okay, I don't really care. I am interested in the draftees because it's important to be. But, how much as a player are you guys? We know that our company is interested in Bronny, but you and other players, how much are you guys talking about LeBron and Bronny playing together, or Bronny being drafted and him? You know, like, this is really a.
Honestly, in my heart of hearts, like, this is one of the coolest things ever. And I'm not just saying that because it's like Bronny the son, but I think just the whole idea of, like, I'm a father, you're a mother, right? You play in the NBA for so long that you get a chance to not only watch your son potentially play in the NBA, but you get a chance to play alongside him, which is crazy. Like, that just shows you greatness personified, but also good DNA and all those things in between.
And
but
it's a different sport, like what we've seen it in baseball, obviously, with Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. and trying to think of some other people. That's the one that pops in my mind. We've never seen it in basketball. Basketball is just too much of an athletic sport.
You usually age out, or you retire, or your kids are just had at such a young age that you don't hang on long enough to make it. But I think the storyline around that is just so dope that it's an intriguing story. I think the story around Bronny, right? I think cardiac arrest, the things that he went through in college before being able to come back and play. I think when you factor in all of those things, you factor in the fact that, like, he's actually, like I say, I know him personally. Like, I've been around him not more than one or two times in passing, but he just seems like a really good kid.
Yes, he
seems like a really good quality kid who wants to make it on his own merit. He wants to not be in his dad's shadow, which isn't, you can't avoid that shadow. It's arguably the greatest player ever. But, like, he's just a young, hungry, down-to-earth kid who just wants to carve out a path and hoop and play the game he loves. And he gets a lot of hate, a lot of people coming at him, a lot of unwanted attention probably at times, and I think it's just something that he's had to adapt to, and it's one of the reasons why Bron has talked about it, why he goes by Bronny instead of LeBron. Like, he wanted to kind of create his own path, if you will, by having
LeBron
his own name.
LeBron has admitted that he probably, wishes he didn't give him his name. But, like, yeah, it's hard, because this is the only life he's known, as being LeBron's son, right?
And there's no avoiding it.
There have been times, I will admit, where I will see posts from LeBron and be like, LeBron, you're putting all this extra pressure on your son, posting all these things, bringing more attention to his game. But at the same time, first of all, he's just being a proud father. But second of all, it's like, this is his life. Like, there's no hiding from it.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to protect him from and shield him, but is that protecting him, rather? You can try to shield him, but is that protecting him? For him to make it on his own, he needs to make it as himself. And himself is the son of LeBron James. It's unavoidable. And if he's following in his footsteps, because he's going to the NBA and trying to be in the NBA, you have to go down that path. So, I've been covering the Summer League for a few years now. I've seen some big kind of like hyped players come through. Interesting because a lot, with Zion being, number one overall pick, and obviously last year Wembanyama was insane as well. So both those, you could feel kind of the momentum and the excitement around those players. I almost will liken, if he ends up going to Summer League, similar to maybe Lonzo Ball, like all of the hype and excitement and social media talk around Lonzo heading into this draft, but we don't know where he's going to be drafted. Like, so when we think about we think about the draft,
do we not know?
No, we don't. So this year is different. Okay, the draft is now broken up into 2 days. Okay, so this is first time ever. Mm-hmm. First round of the draft is Wednesday, June 26th on ABC and ESPN. And then the second round is on Thursday out of our Seaport studios. So, do you think Bronny shows up to the first or second days? Because there's a possibility that they may even have people come in for the second round days.
I think there's a possibility that he shows up, but I think it also depends on where he's promised. It was reported that he only worked out for the Lakers and Phoenix Suns and canceled all his workouts. The Lakers have picked 17 and 50-something. Phoenix Suns have 20-something, I believe, and maybe something else.
Rich is going to know.
He's going to know in advance probably of where he's likely to get selected. And I think that may factor in. He may just want to be with his family. He may want to be back in L.A. With his family, relaxing, enjoying.
What upside is there for him attending the draft? Just so there's another camera in his face after every pick goes?
I think the upside is the experience. I think it's when you were younger as a kid.
There's a thin line between it being a good and an embarrassing experience.
For sure, but this is the life we all chose. We chose to play basketball, and I think for some kids, and maybe this is not his dream, for some kids you dream of shaking the commissioner's hand and going across that stage, regardless of what pick it is. It's a part of the dream. It's a part of what you envision when you're kind of graduating from steps of things you want to accomplish, middle school, high school, college, if you go to college, the pros. It's like a part of the journey. And maybe he doesn't choose to go, whatever the case may be. But I just think the storyline is interesting, right? Like, this is a guy who, didn't have a great freshman year, has showed some upside athleticism and all those things, shot the ball well at the combine, obviously has room to grow and develop and kind of continue to evolve as a player, but has a chance to potentially get drafted or be in the NBA, and his father happens to be arguably the best player to ever play the game. And with that, I think it comes with a lot of different things, and I will say that it seems as if he's handled it well, regardless of circumstances, and is in position to potentially maybe play for the Lakers or someone else. And the Lakers have some decisions to make, too. And I'm going to segue out of the Bronny. Shout out to Bronny and Bron.
Lakers, by the way, have picked 17 and 55, and the Suns have picked 22.
22. So you're saying there's a chance.
But like,
First round.
Who better to coach and develop Bronny than the reported favored next head coach, Dan Hurley?
I like Dan Hurley a lot. I've liked him from the beginning. I like his family. I like his coaching pedigree, the coaching chain that he comes from. I love how he had talked about historically how it was hard for him to sit at the table with his father and brother because of how successful they were and how many things they had accomplished, and he felt like he wasn't worthy or deserving. He's had to kind of fight and earn everything that he's received up to this point. Coaching at mid-major schools, you can kind of argue some of them are low-major to mid-major to where he's at now, how he's done it, the creativity on offense and defense, all the players that I know that have played for him or with him, Jordan Hawkins being an example, talk about how he's a good coach. Like, he knows how to get through to you, he knows how to communicate well, and they have a good relationship. From what I've heard, I think two things. I think he's a good coach and he's a good candidate for this. But generally speaking, it takes a lot to get a coach to leave college, especially when you're coming off of back-to-back national championships with a chance to three-peat, with what could be considered unlimited NIL budget, with unlimited favors and things that are allowed to go your way in a small city in Connecticut. I see it just being hard to leave all of that that's set up for you to succeed, to go to the bright lights of LA with all the pressure and exposure that comes with that, not to mention the taxes.
Lakers.
It's the
Lakers. It's the Lakers head coaching job.
It is, but you have...
And they're and the conversations are, it's like a long-term deal to kind of him being committed to him as the next head coach to really build his program, if you will. I know that it's not how we talk when it comes to the NBA.
Program.
But that's...
The program's changing. How many teams are really, truly committed to their coaches? Spurs with Pop. Spo in Miami.
The Heat. That's it.
When I say, you talk about, giving him a long-term deal, great. I think this is all great. I think they're going to offer him a boatload of money. He's already making a boatload of money in, Storrs, Connecticut.
Yeah, but he's coming off of back-to-back championships. Mm-hmm. The college game is, I don't think any of these head coaches know how to handle what's going on with NILs. And so do you want the challenge of something that feels just at the forefront of this Pandora's box being opened and no one really has a good plan on how to handle it, or take on the challenge of, the NBA, something he's already expressed that he would want to do when he matured. maybe
he matured already.
Yeah, maybe he's matured. But I think just the state of college basketball is a huge reason to kind of look and like take that money and that opportunity and those bright lights of Hollywood. And there's an ego play here. Now, wouldn't you want to see that you can win at the highest level? And for the Los Angeles Lakers, and if he flames out, you don't think a college team would pick him up? You don't think UConn would be like, yeah, you can come back?
I think you have a lot of really, really good points. I think the Lakers is a great place to coach at for a lot of coaches. I think the weather is second to none. Maybe you could argue Miami is better. I think being able to coach LeBron and AD is very appealing to him. The developmental part of having your own program.
I don't know. Maybe
it's very
AD.
Appealing. Your words, not mine.
I'm just saying, like, it's not an easy task. I think anyone going, it's not an easy task.
Why would you want to coach in LA as your first NBA gig? It's twofold, right? Great opportunity, all the things that come with it, or it could be a beautiful nightmare. Like, you're leaving a place that you know.
Yeah, but if you're successful, you're legendary.
You are, and if you're not,
then
you're just another coach.
Rich.
You're just another guy that coached Bron and didn't make it past 3 years, just like a lot of them. So I think it's twofold. I think it's a great opportunity for him, but if he was going to take the job, I don't think it would take this long to convince him to take the job.
Yeah, I don't know the inner works. I mean, I was obviously with Woj last night. You know, he's been working on this story for a while. You know, it seems as if he's been in conversations with the Lakers for, you know, a good deal amount of time, rather. But, you know, it's a big decision, like you said. And that decision is going to be imminent.
Because Bron said it needs to happen sooner than later.
Well, because of the draft. The draft is in 3 weeks. They you know, this is going to be like the next stage of Lakers basketball. They need to have their head coach involved in, you know, like where they're going in the draft.
Mm-hmm. And who they're taking.
And what moves they're going to make.
At pick 17 and at pick 55.
55. First round pick?
I hope Bronny goes first round.
Well, you know what? I don't know anything yet. I'm still in finals mode. You know, what I know is what the experts, our draft experts, are saying. This is a down draft. You know, this is a draft that there's not a lot of high profile names. So maybe.
I think it's all going to be very interesting. I look forward to seeing what happens. I think there's going to be some surprises. I think there's some things that we're going to learn about in the next few days in terms of this coaching position. If it's not Hurley, it sounds like it's JJ. So that will be interesting to see as well, because that will be JJ's first time as a coach, not just in the NBA, but in general. And that is also a splash in the city, right? JJ's a good personality. He knows the game of basketball. He has a podcast with Bron right now, which probably would have to stop, I imagine. But there's so many different things that are going to be impacted going forward. And I wonder if the decision of the head coach will affect the outcome of LeBron's player option.
Well, from what I understand is that LeBron has had no involvement in this coaching decision.
None at all, huh?
No. I mean, in talking to Woj, he's adamant that he's had no involvement.
That's interesting.
He's leaving it up to
AD.
People whose jobs, yes, AD, who he said this is AD's team, you know?
He said, you pick the coach. I'm tired of picking the coaches.
I'm 40 years old.
He said, I picked a lot of coaches.
Don't build around me.
And I think this is smart. It's smart for them to really be calculate with this decision, understand the importance of developing players, what that means for an organization or program, as you referenced, and kind of go from there. But I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see the rest of this finals. I think it's going to be so exciting to see the changes that are made from game 1 to game 2 in terms of rotations, in terms of substitution patterns, in terms of defensive schemes, who you double, who you don't double, who you leave wide open because you play the analytics game. It's going to be fun to watch, and then we'll turn the page quickly and get ready for draft night.
All right. Well, we'll see you in Seaport next week for finals coverage. You'll be on the television.
I will be on the television. I'm saving my haircut for the very last moments. So right now we're roughing it.
I mean, it's vacay, you know. This is how you're supposed to live. Plus, you have 2 kids under 3. No one cares.
No one cares. Woohoo. No one cares about my life. But we care about yours, Cassidy, and we'll see you on TV soon. And we hope that you have safe travels for a splendid game 2, 3, 4, and however many more.
All right. Cool. Enjoy game 2 and the rest of the NBA Finals.
I'll try my best, and we want to make sure that everyone understands that you've been tuned into the CJ McCollum Show with me, CJ McCollum, and the Cassidy Hupperth. Thanks for joining us, and remember to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube and follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Stay tuned for another exciting episode one day.